This is my basil in hydroponics. I have zero experience with hydroponics. Actually, I have never even planted anything before. But I love cooking with basil. I use it in all kinds of meals, especially when those big fragrant tomatoes are in season, with some black olives and extra virgin olive oil. It just feels like you're in Greece at your beach house. If I close my eyes, I can even hear the waves. Now, since this is a motorcycle travel related channel, this was supposed to be an April Fool's joke. Just a tutorial on how to grow basil using the Kratky method, a completely real tutorial. But that in itself was supposed to be the joke. It was supposed to be easy. Quick intermission here to explain what the Kratky method is. It's the easiest set it and forget it method of growing many plants. You suspend the plants in water with mixed in nutrient solution. You have to use a dark container so algae won't grow. The plants naturally grow air roots and start taking oxygen from top of the roots and get nutrients from the water. There is no soil, no bugs. You can plant them in glass jars and forget about them for months. A set it and forget it method. But quickly I realized nothing is easy when you live in the Balkans. The Kratky method mostly comes from the US. So tutorials online casually say just buy master blend for 1838 like it's available everywhere. Meanwhile, in the Balkans, if you walk into a store and say I need NPK for 1838, they just look at you funny. Here are the comments I got ranked from worst to the best. You can't grow that here. The climate is just different. Just plant them in dirt. In water, the roots will rot. Here you go. My cousin uses this blend for his onions. Hands me over a random 20-20-20 blend. And my absolute favorite, why do you need that? What are you trying to grow? Weed? But honestly, that last comment actually helped me. I found a local weed supplement store. I mean, they're not officially a weed supplement store, but when a shop sells fake toilet brushes, fake Pringles can, fake lighters to hide your stash, we all know what's going on here. And the products look like this. So, with full confidence, I can say they're definitely a weed supplement store. And that is where I finally found my A and B nutrient solutions for the basil. It was a bit expensive, around 11 euros for both bottles, but at that point it was my only option. Every other solution I tried led to a dead end. I even tried mixing my own fertilizer from raw ingredients because NPK is basically just nitrogen, phosphorus and some potassium. But somehow I could never find all the ingredients at the same time. A lot of supplements also have completely different names here in the Balkans. For example, if you ask for Epsom salt, nobody knows what you're talking about, but if you ask for magnesium sulfate, suddenly everybody has it. So if you have any tips on where to find raw hydroponics ingredients or proper master blend NPK mixes in Europe, let me know in the comments below. What I eventually learned is this: if you can't find master blend, just look for any A and B hydroponics nutrient mix and it will probably work just fine for Kratky. So let me tell you how I prepared my pot for the basil. I got an 18-liter bucket and a serving tray since it was much sturdier than the normal bucket lid. I drilled 9 holes, one for each of the 8 basil plants, and the one in the middle is just for checking the water level and lifting the tray. I used the same hole cutter to make plugs for the holes out of a pool noodle. I needed 8 of those. Next, I made holes in the middle with a drill bit. Then I made a cut with a razor blade so I could place the basil stems in the middle. This is how the whole system would work. I superglued a thin rubber piece all around the lid of the bucket so no light or bugs could get inside. Now it's time to mix the A and B nutrients. You add 2 or 3 milliliters of each solution per liter of water. I started with 2 milliliters. First you add the A solution and mix it well. Then you add the exact same amount of the B solution. Mix it again and you are done. Everything the plants need to grow is now inside that bucket of water. Since hydroponics is not widely adopted where I live, I had to work with basil plants that were already planted in soil. I proceeded to blast the roots of the basil plants with water to remove every last piece of soil. I definitely damaged some roots, but it had to be done. I repeated this crime 8 times. After each plant was freshly traumatized, I placed it into its new home inside the pool noodle. You know what they say? What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. Now all 8 basil plants were sitting inside a bucket full of nutrient solution. At this point, we had to wait 1 to 2 weeks for the plants to adapt to living in water. I checked upon them after 10 days and I was happy to see that they had adopted and started growing again. All the roots had some discoloration from previously being planted in soil, and I had to remove a bit of rot root, but 90% of the roots were strong and healthy. After 15 days, I harvested the first leaves to use in a pasta sauce. After a month, I could barely recognize the tiny plants I started with. The leaves and roots were healthy and I could visually see the air roots forming. This is something I had no idea even existed. Those tiny cotton-like roots that form when plants realize they can't get enough oxygen underwater, so they start producing those fascinating air roots to breathe. They basically look like tiny cotton roots. And here we are 2 months later, after many harvests in between, and the basil is still growing strong. After 2 months, I only needed to refill about half the bucket. It took about 9 liters of water. I didn't even touch the plants during all that time. Meanwhile, my oregano and one of the basil plants I left planted in soil were almost dead because simply I can't remember to water the plants. Also, I can't deal with vague instructions like add water when needed, but don't add water if the soil is still damp. What does that even mean? Am I supposed to stick my finger into the soil to check the moisture? How much water do I add? How often? Yeah, planting in soil is definitely not for me. But hydroponics or the Kratky method, I'll definitely try again. Even with different plants next time. Well, that's one way to dry your oregano. See you in the next one.